Hello, everyone. This is Nanette Kennedy with Humanities Team and the Evolution Revolution. And this is our weekly book group. We're reading the book by Neil Donald Walsh called The Storm Before the Calm. And Linda is going to read to us, and she can get us up to snuff here on what page we're on. Take it away, Linda.
Okay. So this is Storm Before the Calm. It's a Conversations with Humanity book. We're on conversation number 6, and that starts on page 35. The good news is that to affect the course of human history, you don't have to be a public speaker or a best-selling writer or a TV producer or presenter or group facilitator or workshop giver or whatever else you might think you have to make a difference. You don't have to have a public profile or reach spiritual mastery or commit huge amounts of time or pledge tons of money. And should you choose to accept the call, you'll be working not just on behalf of humanity at large, but on your own behalf as well. Here's the scoop. Your participation in the evolution of our species is achieved through the work you do with your own soul. I meant it when I said that humanity could be just one conversation from paradise. That conversation begins with a talk that you have with yourself. It involves you questioning the prior assumption, every assumption you may have had about yourself, about your world, and about life itself. It could then involve you having a similar conversation with others. This is what the conversations movement is all about. I love this idea of working with my own soul to personally evolve, but how does talking about all this with others accomplish that? The work of your soul is not limited to the self. The work of the soul is to also care for the souls of others. It is to care for all souls. For your soul realizes that there is really only one soul, individuated in countless forms. Thus, caring for all souls is caring for ourselves. Working with all souls is working with one's own soul. That is why the impulse to help each other is built into our genes. It's coded within our species. We care for each other, and we do what we can to show it. We have a soul contract to do so. I'm convinced of it. We all, each of us, feel this impulse. Your participation in the evolution of our species is achieved through the work you do with your own soul. One very easy way that we can show that we care for each other is to enter with others into the same vivid and vital conversation we enter into with ourselves. In other words, do our soul searching together, because the process of soul searching can be a lonely experience, yet it need not be. When a person enters into soul searching, that person can change. And when a group enters into soul searching together, that group can change. And when a whole society enters into soul searching together, that entire society can change. Soon, the collective culture of many societies changes. Then the world entire. It all starts with you deeply questioning yourself and then carrying the questions to others. The choice is yours. And so that is what I'm describing here when I refer to the work you do with your own soul. It is one form of soul work. It is obviously not the only form, but it can be a powerful form. It is a form so powerful that it can transform a person, a group, a society, a culture, and a world. You are not required to do any of this work, of course, nor are you required to do it in a particular way. You can do this work with your individual soul, or you can do it with your individual soul and the collective souls of others. The choice is yours. How do you work with your soul? How can I even connect with my soul to sow this soul searching? To do there, I think there's a typo there in that sentence. How do you do this work with your soul? How do I even connect with my soul to do this soul searching? Fair questions. No one teaches this stuff in high school. Very little is written about it. Churches don't even get very deeply into it, but we are going to hear. I will share with you in this conversation all that I know about how to connect with your soul daily in a wonderful way that brings you right into the soul's experience and allows you to access the soul's wisdom. So stick around for that. It's a 3-step process that has changed people's lives. Can I ask you what may seem like an insolent question? Of course, ask me anything. What is the basis of all of this for you? You keep talking about 7 simple questions. Who made them up? Where did they come from? What makes them so magical for you? For that matter, where is all this stuff about an overhaul and the need for a new cultural story coming from? The basis of all that's here. That isn't insolent at all. I should think you'd want to know that, so thanks for letting me explain. Just over a decade and a half ago, I had an experience in which I was inspired by the divine. I wrote a book about it called Conversations with God. That book created a global spiritual publishing phenomenon, selling over 1 million copies, being translated into 35 languages, and remaining on the New York Times bestseller list for 137 weeks. During the time since then, 8 other books in this ongoing dialogue have been released, 6 of those also making the Times bestseller list. I'm not telling you this to boast. I'm telling you this to create a context within which to consider what I've been saying here and all that I am going to say next. God has brought a life-changing message to our world, and given the combined sales of all the Conversations with God books and the hand-to-hand sharing of them, millions of people have been touched by it. There is a reason for this. It did not happen by chance. The overhaul of humanity, remember that definition, overhaul, a comprehensive examination and repair of something, is underway. And I believe that the sudden appearance of the CWG material is all a part of that. Does this mean that I am somehow a messiah? No, it means that we all are. For the most important, the most prominent, and the most repeated conversations with God all the time, we're simply calling them something else. We're calling them moments of inspiration, or women's intuition, or a psychic hit, or a bright idea, or a deep insight, or an epiphany. We call the results of such encounters serendipity, or coincidence, or chance. We deny that they could actually be interactions with the divine because we've been culturalized to hold ourselves as being unworthy of such experiences. Indeed, to claim to have had personal contact directly from God is considered by many to be a blasphemy. It is time for conversations with humanity. Yet throughout human history, women and men have experienced moments of deep connection with the heart and the source and the essence of life, by whatever name we call it. And across the span of time, ordinary people have had extraordinary awakenings, leading to both precipice and precedence. Now it is time for all of us to claim that and for a new conversation to take place. A conversation that proceeds from our conversations with God. Now it is time for us to have the conversation with ourselves that I spoke of, and then for all of us to have conversations with each other. It is time for conversations with humanity. For everywhere we turn today, people are looking for wisdom, searching for clarity, seeking solutions, trying to figure out just what went wrong with us, that we could be acting the way we are acting, killing and maiming each other, ignoring the desperate needs of our fellow humans, in spite of our basic impulse to care for each other, ruining our planet in spite of the fact that we say we love it, reaching endlessly for bigger, better, more, while hundreds of thousands revolt because they have never had what others have right now. The conversations I'm proposing can provide an avenue to wisdom, a roadway to clarity, a path to solutions for many. But they must be real dialogues, not simply the pontifications of those who think they have something important to say. They must be openings to mutual understanding and then mutual creation. Points I hope you'll remember. Your participation in the evolution of your species, of our species, has to do with the work you do with your own soul. That work is about deep inquiry, or what we call soul searching. The work of the soul is not limited to the self, but can evolve. It can involve the lifting of all other souls to peace and clarity. You are not required to do any of this work. Actions I hope you will take. Read Conversations with God, Book 1, if you have not already done, or if it has been some time since you've read it. Reread it now. Engage in the process of deep inquiry with your soul, using the 7 simple questions, which are outlined in the next conversation in this book. Continue the process of igniting conversations with others, centered around their own look at these questions. End of conversation.
Thank you, Linda. Anybody like to start?
I mean, just being in the United States, especially right now, that thing of the soul searching is certainly happening around the issue of race, and that, you know, that's how things change. That sort of touched me from that chapter. Over.
Just the conversations about math. Good Lord. You know, I mean, people need to do a lot of soul searching around those conversations.
Linda, can you repeat that? I didn't hear the word you used.
Oh,
Please.
about math. I mean, I don't know about what's happening in other countries, but our country is we're going to have a war over the issue of wearing masks. It's the most
masks.
insane.
I'm with you.
Yeah, it's the most insane division. It's so frustrating. It's just so frustrating. And I don't understand how this level of ignorance can be so deep in this country, other than to say that we've cut education funding for the last 40 years and explain it that way. But I mean, the way that people are triggered over this issue about caring for other people, that's the whole thing. The thing about wearing masks is about caring about other people. The thing about racism, it's about caring about other people. The thing about climate change, it's about caring about other people. And yet, we've become a society, at least in America, where we apparently don't care about each other. Or at
Linda,
least a
I don't
big
think
group
we've
of
learned
us.
how to control our appetites. And I feel that
I think that's
I think
a
that
good
comes
point.
from a deep sense of emptiness. You know, after one has learned how to deal with the boss and pay the bills and educate the kids and mow the lawn, there is a deep unrest in people. We certainly experienced it, I'm sure, one way or another, but in people between 35 and 55, there must be more to life. I came out of college, they're saying I came out of college where everything was being questioned and examined and there were new answers and new possibilities, and then I just started paying bills. So there must be more to life than this.
That's a good point, JJ. And one of the things that I was going to say about this mask thing, I was talking to another friend of mine earlier today about it. When somebody words it to you in such a way that says, please wear your mask because you're preventing you from spreading it to people, as well as other people are trying not to give it to you if they may have it. And the truth is, most of us don't know whether we have it or not. And last night I was watching a little bit of the shindig that Donald Trump held last night. And very early, before they even started, they had to let 6 people go that were working the event that were not HIV. What am I thinking about, folks? The COVID virus. They were thinking, or the COVID virus was, these 6 people had it and they didn't know it. But if I heard that and I didn't have my mask on, I'd be reaching for my mask before they got finished talking about it. It's just common courtesy. I don't see what the big deal is, but obviously there are people that think it's a big deal. And
well, it's been politicized. That's the problem. It's you know, everything has become political in America.
That's what I was going to say. The divide and conquer thing, you know, it's like if you set this group of people against that group of people, how can we do our soul searching together to change society? You know, that's what's happened, is everything has become politicized, and sadly, caring about people other than yourself seems to have become politicized, you know? We're like these, you know, what do they call us, snowflake liberals, you know, who care about other people like it's something bad.
Well, you know, Mary, you're right on, because we're half a step away from rescinding no smoking laws and seatbelt laws. That's really what it comes down to, right? Because we don't smoke around each other anymore. Why? Because the smoke from the end of the cigarette not necessarily from your exhale, but the smoke from the end of the cigarette kills people. We know this now. So we don't smoke inside anymore. It's the same exact thing when you talk about a mask, right? The exhale from the cigarette, the smoke from the cigarette is exactly the same as a person's exhale, right? I don't know if what's in my exhale might kill you. Therefore, I'm going to keep a cloth over my face in some shape or form so that if my smoky breath, let's call it that, doesn't kill you. It's the exact same principle, and yet people are ready to basically take up arms over this issue of masks. So either we have to somehow get people to realize it's the same thing as smoking, or we should just rescind the smoking laws and go back to a free-for-all where everybody can just kill everybody else with their actions no matter what. And it isn't seatbelts, it's drunk driving. That's the other thing. It's the exact same thing. You have something in your body that might make you to a point where you could kill me. Laws against that. But God forbid, we should suggest we have a law about a mask.
I know.
It's like we've lost
Okay.
our mind.
Some people would say that there's reasoning and then there's emotion and the reaction from one or the going on here, Linda. You remember when Margaret Mead wrote about how difficult it is sometimes to change a person's mind or brain after they have listened to the same message enough times. It builds this little peninsula in the brain system, and that little peninsula gets deeper and deeper and deeper until it is basically entrenched. And then right. No matter what you do, no matter what reasoning you give a person, that little message is coming out exactly the same as it always did. There is no change.
So what this chapter is suggesting is that we have conversations with each other about our soul. And what we have to do then is somehow get past this entrenchedness. So how do we do that? That's really the key. How do we get past it?
One of the things that can help is if a person is able to take on what Margaret Mead was trying to tell us about the brain structure and reflect on that. You know that they're not ready to work with the idea of the soul unless they're really able to begin to reflect on the fact that the brain is a tool. It is not an entity in itself. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say that would be the first step. And then if that step is taken, then maybe that person can then divide their thought processes, this is going to sound strange, from their brain. Because they see the brain as physical. And now we can begin to talk about, if we're going to divide our thinking from our brain, then we can divide our being from our brain. And once we can divide that, then we can see that the soul is as much a part of the being as the brain. Maybe I'm not saying that.
Sure. No, you're saying it right. It sure would help if some of the religions around the world would be teaching this.
Well, they did, but in Constantinople,
that's gotten lost.
It all out of the Bible.
Right, I know. It's all gotten lost, and so.
But he did.
Yeah, I know. Originally.
Yeah. And I'm sure before him there were others, although we have no record of them.
I just wanted to ask, is there a big hoo-ha in the US then about the mask? I don't think we've had it here in the UK. But I did hear, I believe, an argument against wearing masks. I don't know if you've heard that, where it's detrimental to health to wear a mask, especially if you've got a respiratory disease. And then you're going to, all the CO2s are going to go back into your
That is correct, Angela.
I don't know if you've heard that at all.
It's a weak argument. I mean, there may be a few people walking the face of the earth that have respiratory issues that you know can't handle a mask, but it's definitely not. It is not a prevalent thing, and the masks can be. They don't have to be like an N95. It can be as simple as a scarf over your face, you know, over your mouth and nose. Something. Again, I think I've said this on one of our other calls. It's about moist mouth and speech spit. And all anybody needs to do is look at their computer monitor or their laptop screen and tell me that they don't see speech spit all over their laptop screen. I clean it and within an hour I can see it. So, and that thing is usually within 3 feet of my face, right? So, it's just a way to keep your mouth moisture from shooting across the room on other people where they can breathe it in, right? That's what it is. It's not rocket science, and it's not, you know, they don't have to be N95s. They don't have to be, you know, blocking your airwaves. And certainly if there's anybody that's got a breathing condition that can't handle it, people are going to be forgiving of that. But I know in this little town that I'm in, about a month ago, because our state, you know, there have been 13 states that have declared a mask mandate. And then and then the rest of it is by locality, wherever you are. Right? Certain localities have made them mandatory and others have made them recommended. So in Seward, about a month and a half ago, I guess I'm going to say now, they attempted to put a mask mandate in place and they passed it. And then all hell broke loose overnight. And, you know, the council members were getting texts in the middle of the night. They were getting threats. They were being accused of instituting Shira law. I mean, it's like people went crazy. The problem is that the people that went crazy, they are a minority of the people, but they're the loudest. And so they rescinded it. They rescinded that order. And then they didn't do anything for 6 weeks. Now it's going to come back. It's in a modified form. The original one said, you know, pretty much the minute you leave your house, you should have a mask on. So it was a little aggressive, probably over the top. The new one that they're going to bring back is not that aggressive. It's just when you're around anybody that's not your family and you can't stay 6 feet apart, you should have a mask on. And even that language is getting ridiculous. I mean, there's like hundreds of comments on these posts on Facebook, and people are not being nice, and they're talking nasty to each other. I mean, it's like, what has happened to us? And all I can really nail it on is we went, you know, if you look at what's happened in this country, we went from always having white presidents, you know, to having a black president that for many of us, we mistakenly thought that meant that we had sort of embraced our racism and that we were moving past it. But for all of the people who have always been racist, what that black president did for 8 years for them was to do nothing but take away their white privilege rights. So now we have a country where there is this, you know, 30, maybe as much as 40%, 30 to 40%, it's not more than that really believe that Obama caused the racism, like that he made it worse. When in fact, all he might have done is brought it more to the surface. You know, I'm not aware of anything that he did in his policies that made our racism worse and made our white privilege worse. But that group of people feel like their rights are being taken away from them and they are fighting to hang on. And so we have this like existential break now in what country are we? What kind of a country are we? Because we've got 2 feet in racism and fascism and all this other stuff right now. So there was never more of a time that we needed to have this conversation, that we need to be having conversations with each other about our souls. I mean, it's so critical. It just seems overwhelming, I guess. Over.
Angela, I heard the same thing that you did, that wearing masks are counterintuitive. They do more harm than good, and they don't actually stop, unless you've got an N95 mask, they don't actually stop the the spread of COVID. They don't. I've heard from Americans, this is incidentally, because I'm in the UK and here we're not required to wear masks. We are required to wear them on public transport. And I haven't donned a mask for 3 months, and I won't. I just won't do it because I don't see them as helping solve the problem. I see them more of a way of the authorities separating us and stopping us from becoming one. You know, the more you wear these things, it's kind of a separation, isn't it? It's a way of separating people, and I just don't think that's the way. So personally, I don't wear masks. I don't take public transport, so I don't need to worry about that. But if I did, I would have a handkerchief in my pocket, and I would just don that if I had to. But yeah, Angela, I definitely heard that. It's I don't know if any of you have heard of Weston A. Price. Have you? Has anybody heard of Weston A. Price?
What is it?
Well, it's a whole wonderful podcast, Wise Traditions, and on that they talk about these are people who are not tied into the establishment, you know, where you'll get real information, not the sort of information you get on CNN and Fox News and all the rest of it. This is like really good stuff. So if you get a chance to go there and look at what they say about masks, then you'd understand that there's an agenda, there's other stuff behind it that's not necessarily what we think. Really
I don't understand why the medical people would be so adamant about them then. And why have medical professionals worn masks
That's what I was
in surgery forever?
So many people have to wear masks for their work anyway. So if masks were going to be bad for our health, wouldn't those people be dropping like flies? I just need to say that because that argument just does not hold water for me.
I guess I didn't explain it very well. I think you'd have to listen to this podcast and listen to the person who's making that claim, because they said a lot more than I've said about it, and they really substantiate in a way that's very convincing. I'm not a very convincing person. It's convinced me enough to not wear it myself, put it like that.
Mohan, can you
but hang on a second. So is your assumption that when you wear a mask, you're protecting yourself?
No, I didn't say that. I'm just asking to clarify. Is your assumption when you're wearing a mask that you're protecting yourself from others? My assumption is that when I'm wearing a mask, it's not making any difference unless it's an N95 mask. Because what comes out will still come through the mask, because these pores, they're not airborne. Are you aware of this? This COVID is not airborne. I mean, you'd have to listen to the podcast and understand that the science behind it is quite profound. And I was like you, total, no way, this is not going to happen. But as soon as I heard that, and this was pretty much 3 or 4 months ago, just after, the lockdown started in late March is when I heard it. And I even flew here on the 21st, I think it was, of March, the day before the lockdown. And on the flight, I didn't wear a mask. I think a lot has to do with your belief systems as well, If we manifest what we believe. We go into the whole fear thing and we start manifesting what we believe. don't have the fear. That's what I would suggest.
Well,
You know,
but
don't have the fear. This is what CWG teaches us. You know, I've been reading CWG for 25 years. I met Neil Donald Walsh in Miami, South Beach in 2001. And that whole book changed my life, you know. And there's a whole thing on fear right at the beginning of CWG Book 1, which is, that's why he said at the end of this chapter, it says, reread CWG Book 1. I think that's very good advice, you know.
yeah, I don't think necessarily that wearing masks is a sign of fear. I don't know if I have it or not. I haven't been tested recently. Actually, I haven't. I've only been tested for antibodies. I've not been tested. And again, you're saying that it's not airborne. So, you know, I think in America, we have not embraced that information yet. So we are still all operating under the assumption that it's airborne. And so
Well,
if I don't know if I have it and it's airborne, I'm wearing a mask not out of fear. I wear a mask out of caring for the other people because I don't know if I have it or not, and I don't want to give it to them.
where do you get
that
your
fear?
information from? May I ask you, I don't know which person is talking because I can't see, you know, a lot of people don't have their videos on. But can I ask where you get your information from?
I don't get it from Fox News or CNN, if that's what you're implying.
Do you get it from the mainstream media?
I get it from a lot of different places, not necessarily mainstream media. I mean, I observe what mainstream media is feeding, but I watch a lot of and listen to a lot of alternative news as well.
Okay, that's good. So have you not had come across any of these alternative opinions that are very, very far removed from what your mainstream media reports?
I have, and then when I do the research on who those people are, and they end up being quacks, most of them. So,
yeah.
You know, if there's one person out there, you know, screaming a different thing, they may or may not be right. You know, everybody has to use their own judgment, I guess, on what you're going to believe. But again, each of us has our own access to the truth.
Sure.
Right? So we're all connected to the truth. And going in is probably a better source of truth than looking outward.
My question is, if it's not airborne, then how do you explain like the people who went to the church choir practice and then most of them came down with it? Or do you say that that's fake news because it was on the mainstream media?
I trust very little that's on the mainstream media, frankly. I just don't. There's so many.
How do you explain, like, out of the 90 people at a choir practice, 60 of them caught it? If it's not airborne, it was singing, it was big exhalations of air, you know, all in a room together.
I can also share two very real stories from Alaska that have just happened. And Alaska is a state that's very interesting because we have isolated communities. We have communities like Ketchikan. Somebody needs to mute because there's like a lot of noise in the background. But anyway, thank you. There's a community called Ketchikan that you can only get there by either flying or boating, right? You can't drive there. So Ketchikan had someone who came in and had to do a 14-day quarantine because of their travel history or whatever it was. I don't know. Anyway, they're in 14-day quarantine and they broke it. And they went to 2 different parties. And now there's like 46 people in Ketchikan that are sick. And in Girdwood, same thing. Somebody was quarantined 14 days, went to a party or two over a weekend, and now there's a bunch of people in Girdwood that are sick. So I don't know if it's not, they've already said it's not surface spread, and now you're saying it's not airborne thread. So, you know, I don't know how you explain what happens in these places if it's not spreads airborne.
Linda, when the medical system uses the word shed, they mean airborne. Right, Mary?
Right, right,
Shed is airborne. It can be
right.
it can be on the fabric. It can be on the leather. It can settle in, apparently, even when you flush a toilet. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
but the
operative
CDC has come
word.
out and said it's not surface transmission. Even if it's shed, it's not surface transmission.
Okay. Disinfecting
Okay.
that the Asians are doing very effectively, which we refuse to embrace, is one of the reasons why we're talking about shedding, because that is what it means. It means you don't necessarily get it through, obviously, like HIV is spread differently. Ebola is spread differently.
Right.
So, yeah.
Can I say something? Can I say something? Is it okay? I'm called a quack. I'm a medical herbalist. So just in the last, I've been a medical herbalist for 30 years. In the last, I say in the last 10 years, it's becoming more and more increasingly difficult to practice because we are nothing but discredited. And all I can say is all I've ever done is try to help people, and everything I use myself. I take everything. I treat my pets, everybody, and I've kept people into their older years so they can be healthy. And today, because I was listening to how they discredited some information on the radio, they started out making it sound okay, and then they brought in a lot of how they present things makes you feel that, oh, there's all these people trying to rip you off or something. Okay, well, so, say it was me, they decided I was ripping them off. Well, honestly, if I wanted to rip off people, I really wouldn't choose to be a medical herbalist because it is too difficult to do. And today I'm beginning to think I'm not sure it's ever possible to practice. And I just want to say that because why know, for everybody who's afraid of viruses, don't be afraid of viruses. What you need is a good immune system. You need to support your immune system. This is what we as herbalists can help you do. Natural medicine, natural good organic food. You have to work, you have to research and work yourself to build your immune system. And the fact that the virus, if it's true at all, because a lot of the information they put out there, first of all, there are no tests that are accurate, and there is no credibility behind them. But the media, the medical system, the media, the pharmaceutical industry, the politicians, they're all in one pocket. All the information is being, and the scientists who are giving the information that they want to present, they're all in the pockets of the people who want to manufacture a vaccine, and that's how it is. And that's how it is. And that's how it is. And this is how it is. And the only way you can be healthy, really, is to build up your immune system, because we are part of this planet. The planet is in danger. Of course, we are dependent on the planet to exist, you know. So we can't expect to be in great shape if our planet's in danger also. So we have to look after the planet, we have to look after each other, we have to look after ourselves, and we have to stop being, you know what we've got is, there's no color to a soul. There's no color to the soul. And the light shines through everyone. But we got to stop thinking what we heard. We got to start finding the source of how we can authentically express ourselves. And if we want to wear masks, that's fine, you know, because you're wearing the mask to protect the other person if you want to, and if you believe in it, you know, do it. But we don't want to encourage sort of draconian laws to force everybody because we're full of viruses. Viruses actually keep you healthy. We need to be in balance. We're out of balance. That's what it is. Because, you won't hear people like me because we won't be able to work. I'm just saying, because it's in the last 10 years, it's been more and more impossible to work. So just telling you what's the situation is. And it's the same probably all people who go into this, because we've seen terrible things and we know what we're doing, Okay, thanks.
Can I say something? I want to, Mohan, can you put that link to that place we talked about where we can listen? Can you put that in the chat room?
I'll do that. I'll put it on the chat. The
link
podcast you're talking about, yes? It's an excellent source of information.
Yeah,
I highly recommend it.
And I must say also that fear and stress is more dangerous than
I agree.
My English is not perfect. I'm in Sweden, and almost no one. It's very few people using these masks here, and we have holding distance, but it's very much talk about 70 plus. You should avoid being with people, but anyway, it's not. I feel that I haven't had any flu or anything since I was very young. It was the Asiatic. It was 1959. I have never had flu since then. Yeah, and my father died from that, but he had tuberculosis before, so that activated. But otherwise, I don't know anyone who had it. But I hear all the time that people are dying, but people are dying from different situations. So I think the fear gives us more. Is more dangerous than the air. So I will not say that we shouldn't be careful. Absolutely, we should. But it's such a stress. Everything is about Corona today, and people are dying from different situations. I mean, my daughter died in cancer 17 years ago, and what to do when such things happen? And that was just nothing, just happened. But now the Corona is so much focused on stress and dying and being fear. And when I met with Bruce Lipton, I met him in India when I was there in February. I have met him before, and we were talking, and I can feel that what his research is done, that stress causes more sickness than anything else. Stress is the most dangerous virus. So I think we should also take that in. But of course, to wear the mask if we believe in it, if we trust that it helps, of course. But I mean, it's not stress on that in Sweden. I just been out shopping today. I saw some on a big shopping center, and I saw some people going with masks, but very few. Otherwise, I don't almost never see it here. So, of course, but many are critical to Swedish way of handling it also. So I don't know. I don't know what is the best, but stress is dangerous. I just want to point on that. Okay. Just over. Thank you.
Can I speak for a moment to 907-491-2378?
That's me.
That's you. Then
Yeah.
then the herbalist who was just speaking.
No, that was Ann Darby.
Me.
Hi, Anne. Hi. I wanted to thank you for your work because the products that you and others like you are responsible for putting onto the market and getting into the hands of the average people like myself have been tremendously helpful, much more helpful than the doctors. And this is concerning a heart condition, a thyroid condition, a cancer condition, and an arthritis condition. And And if Linda and I both know we have this health store in Seward, and the woman who manages it is extremely knowledgeable about everything that she sells. So I wanted to thank you personally. That's it.
That's nice. Yes, wonderful. I only trained as a herbalist because I found it so helpful for myself. I was going to do something else, so that's it's a wonderful, wonderful help. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Anybody else? We've got about 4 minutes left. Will be plenty of time for Shabana to do the closing meditation. Shabana?
Yes.
Go
Lord
ahead.
God, thank you. Whether it's conversations with humanity or conversations with God or conversations with each other, all we need to do is talk it out. We thank you for the gift of speech, the joy we extend through our vulnerability and honesty, and the absolute faith we have that you love us. And this love, which glues the universes together, is the definition of life. So we're joining our hearts now with Mohan and JJ, adding to the power we're extending in healing not just ourselves and each other, but also Gaia and the multiverse. Amen. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Shabana.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shabana.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Shabana.
All right. Thank you, Mohan and JJ, for joining
Mohan,
us.
before you go,
Yes.
I have a quick question for Mohan. Do you have an actual podcast number?
I was just
Because
looking.
there's a lot of podcasts, but I can't figure out which one
You
is the
know,
one you're talking about.
I've listened to hundreds of this, over 200, and it was within one of the podcasts that I can't remember which podcast I listened to it, but it could be like the hack, the 5. It's definitely a recent one. You know, I think we're on 246 at the moment. So going back from there, breath work for stress relief. It might be, these are about half an hour to 40 minutes each one, but they're all incredible. I mean, the last one, vaccines, few know about. Vaccine facts, few know about. So the latest one, which is absolutely awesome. They're all great. But as far as specifically to the mask, I'm so sorry, it's not in the title, but it's inside one of them. You'd have to probably listen to a few.
Okay. I just was curious.
I just have something to add, Linda. As a Canadian, there's been big controversy here about exactly what Mohan's talking about. Our, big head doctor, she's Teresa Tam, she's English. She said masks are no good.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but they did that. They all did that early on, specifically because they were trying to keep the masks that were available for the medical people. So you see, there's something else that's happened here. They lied to us, and they publicly stated that masks didn't help. Fauci said it. They all said it early on, but they weren't telling the truth. They were lying to us because they had heard about people hoarding masks, and they wanted the medical people who were the ones who were short on masks to be able to have masks. So they lied to us initially. Then they turned around later and said, oh no, masks are really good. We just did.
I think what we need to do is clone Anne Darby, and then we'll all have a better immune system, and then we'll all be healthy. What do you think?
I mean, the point of the masks in the beginning, they wouldn't keep us from getting sick. That's what they were telling us, why we don't need them. And the point now is not that the mask will keep me from getting sick. It's I wear a mask to keep you from getting sick if I'm shedding the virus. And yes, if we all had access to someone like Anne Darby, we'd all be so much healthier. And I do use herbal things, and I don't think you're a quack at all. I really don't. But not everybody has access, and not everybody, I mean, it's that thing. I mean, I live in a place where masks are legally mandated. They are now mandated throughout the state of California. They've been mandated in San Diego and Los Angeles County for a while now. So I wear them when I go out to the grocery store or whatever. It's no big deal. But Orange County, which is between San Diego and Los Angeles County, people are losing their minds about the masks. So, if we're wearing masks and they're not, I mean, we don't have any borders in place. So it's just, I don't wear a mask because I'm afraid or to protect myself. I wear a mask because if we all wear masks, then we are protecting each other. And if half of us don't wear masks and they're the ones who have it, they're not protecting anybody. So, but yeah, it's a big to-do throughout the states when they're mandated, not just in Alaska. Fortunately, here in San Diego, most people are abiding by the rule. So.
Well, I think that as a simple rule of thumb, because I am compromised with my breathing, and I really, and where I am right now is completely in lockdown, and I'd rather be in complete lockdown with my breathing mask, with my mask, than to not be in that situation. And it may be incorrect information, but it's a risk I'm willing to take that it is incorrect, because I don't think wearing one can hurt me. Over.
Well, and if you look at the news, it doesn't look like Sweden's numbers are good, or the way that it's transmitting is positive, right? I mean, I just Googled it, and it's like, hopes fade for Sweden's herd immunity, taking a high toll on Sweden's elderly. Stockholm Syndrome, Sweden spikes in coronaviruses, you know, and this isn't Fox News or CNN. So, you know, I guess we can just all sort of come to our own conclusions about the methods that are being used and the results that are getting gotten and the relation between the two. Right?
Yeah, as I'm in Sweden, I can respond. Many have been very critical to how Swedish have done this, but it's very much up to everyone to take responsibility. It has been given more than lock down everything to ask everyone to be responsible. So I don't know if it's good or bad, because I live in the countryside and I'm not mixing with a lot of people and take care. But I know that there has been a lot of critics. Sometimes they have really said Sweden is doing the best. And then some other places they just accuse Sweden for being non-responsible. So I don't know what is the best thing. So I can just, I don't know, even if I'm Swedish. So, but it has been very up to the individual to be careful, to take care, to hold distance, not mix. And if you feel to wear mask, you can do that. It has not been like a prison. And of course, it's not handled, so we don't know what will be the result.
Yeah, and I don't know what Sweden does in terms of like secondhand smoke or seatbelt laws or drunk driving laws. You know, I think the issue in America is because we have in the past appeared to care about each other. And over this issue, it appears that we no longer care about each other. And I think that's the biggest sort of shift that many Americans, the majority of Americans, have a hard time with. I think that's what it boils down to.
Always been very careful.
You know,
and for example, to the hospitals and such care has been very, very profound in Sweden all the time. Now it's difficult because we are too many. I mean, there has always been a very good system for caring, and even the elder and so on. So I think they are used to that we take care. So, but I don't know what is good just now. Okay, thank you.
Okay, everybody. Anybody got a last word they'd like to throw in before I disconnect the recording?
Yeah, I've got something to say, Nanette.
Yes.
And Darby just wrote in the chat that she cannot hear anyone. So I'm making a formal request to you today, Sunday, just shortly after the meeting or before the end of the meeting. Please post the recording in time for someone to watch it before the next meeting.
You're so kind.
I've got something I'll say before we go, Nanette.
Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry.
I just want to say, not as kind as Nanette.
No worries. Okay. Angela?
Yeah, I was just going to read today's quote from book 1. It says, "It is not in the action of another, but in your reaction that your salvation will be found."
beautiful.
Sending you love, Nanette.
What was that?
Sending you love, Nanette.
Thank you. I've got a mirror up so that it shoots back to you. All right. Love everybody.
There's a kaleidoscope.
Yeah, it shoots back to everybody. Okay. Love everybody. And we'll see each other next Sunday. And
Love
really,
you all.
thank you, Mohan and JJ. Please join us again.
Lots of love, everyone.
Okay.
Bye. See you next week.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.